Welcome to episode 11 of Grassroots Unfiltered. Today we are joined by Luke Armstrong, and he's here to talk to us about his experiences in open age. Luke, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. So at the minute, you're manager of Warley FC down in Brentwood.
Yeah.
You've got some very exciting times on your hands at the minute, haven't you?
Yeah. So I think it's a bit different for us at the moment. We're currently part of a YouTube documentary called Specsavers Best Worst Team, which is a blessing in disguise, shall we say. It has its ups and it has its downs. Naturally, being named the worst team in England, people have a pre-association of what your football team's like, realistically.
I can imagine, yeah. We're going to talk about that in a bit more depth later on. But I just want to find out your experience of the Grassroots. Did you play when you were younger? And now you're a manager, so let's just try and find out a bit about that.
Yeah, so sort of always played, ranging from pretty much about 8 onwards until sort of mid-20s. Then discovered that there was more to life than football on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. Then went back into it in my 30s. So I've always played grassroots football, played to an okay level. I was in a team in my youth that because I'm left-footed, I was left back because naturally you're the only left-footed person on the team. And it was a bit boring for me because they went unbeaten for about 4 years. And I could tell you I didn't really do anything for 4 years. I just sort of passed the ball to my left midfielder as it was back then, and then just went, you go do what you do. And I'll just stand in for 90 minutes pretty much. It got a bit cold on a Saturday, but obviously it gave me avenues into higher levels of talent because people do tend to look at clubs like that and see if there's any decent players in there. And I think I was the anomaly because there was 2 left-footers in the team and both of us were just down the left-hand side. Because, as you know, football back then was a bit different. It was a bit different in the world of football, weren't they? So, that's pretty much my introduction. I've always played football. I'm back into playing football now. I ruptured my Achilles playing for Warley. So, I had to have surgery on it. Took about a year and a half, 2 years out of it. And then, then gone back into Saturday footballs. I don't play with Warley on the basis that I think it blurs a few lines that I think half of them would probably say they're better footballers than me. And if I stuck myself on a Sunday morning, it just wouldn't be worth the arguments, realistically.
There'd be insults flying all over the place, wouldn't there?
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine as a manager if you miss control? Like, I've got range of age from 19-year-olds right up until 37s. I could tell you freely they would all give me a lot of rubbish if I misplaced a pass or anything like that comfortably.
Yeah, I could imagine. So now you're the manager. How are you finding that?
Yeah, so I've done coaching, done some badges, the old typical age badges when I was younger. Enjoyed football, it was one of those that the guys that took it over was a very aging side. It was full of in Sunday League, it's a bit different nowadays, but, sort of 34, 35-year-olds all having babies, getting married, realise they don't want to spend Sunday mornings playing football pitch, basically on a bombed-up pitch. And then one of the guys that was the original owner sort of turned around to me and said, "Oh, you're here pretty much every week. Do you want to take it over and do you want to be manager?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a go. I've done coaching before." And it's sort of been a bit of a baptism of fire, shall we say. I didn't realise how much rebuilding I'd have to do
Right.
at the start, shall we say. So
how long have you been doing it now?
So I've literally been doing it. This will be the end of my second season. We've got about 4 games left of the season. So end of second season, but I was doing about 6 months, pretty much. So 2 years, really. So.
You enjoy it?
Parts of it. I mean, I feel like I'm actually more stressful as a manager than what a player is. I feel like as a player, you can worry about yourself and you ain't got to worry about anything else. You can go out and play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas on a Sunday morning, you've got to worry about if the balls are pumped up, because no doubt everyone moans about whether the ball's going to be pumped up. If we've got enough bibs. If we've got, the added dimensions of the Specsavers stuff as well, with the filming and whatnot and all of that fun. So I really enjoy parts of it, and there's other parts of like submitting a team sheet and getting chased by the league constantly about doing the admin side of it. That I'm a bit like, oh God, I don't want to do this week in, week out.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, isn't there? So even at junior levels, all the way through, then you've got to submit team sheets and things like that. Then
Yeah, so we're on the FA app, which does make it a lot easier because it's a bit more modern nowadays rather than having to write a load of names on it. So it is a lot easier on the app, but after a loss on a Sunday morning, the worst thing you want to go do is having to remind yourself you got to submit that loss onto the portal. You've got to submit your team sheet, and then you sit there and go, I'm going to remind myself about the result I've just had 45 minutes ago. So it's not as fun, that part. So
it's not just coaching the side, is it? Like you say, you've got the admin. Do you do the social media, things like that?
oh yeah, it's pretty much sort of jack of all trades, master of none is probably the easiest terminology. So doing all the social media side of it, doing the finances side of it. And, we're quite lucky. We trade on a step-free ground, which means that obviously you've got to finance that somehow.
Right.
We are quite lucky. Social events. Basically, if there's a job that needs doing in a football club, then at this particular point, I don't think I've realised I have to do it at some point. So it's the admin side of it. You've got right down from making sure your players are registered on the portals, make sure you don't get done if someone's an eligible player, down to submitting your team sheets, to making sure that everyone, right down to, we have a basic Excel spreadsheet that's when who's available, who's not available, chasing people to pay their subs, which is just constant in Sunday League. The amount of
Yeah.
people that go, oh, I forgot to pay you. Yeah, you have to pay me every week. It hasn't changed all season. So it's, you know what? I think there is so much elements that people don't really get in terms of like the background stuff that if you try to give it to a player for a weekend, they'd probably just go, no, I'm all right, thanks. I'll just keep on playing football. So, but I chose to do it. So you can't really moan too much about it.
It's one of them where I always I didn't really play too much Sunday League. I probably stopped about 5 years ago because my lad started playing. And I thought I'd much rather go and watch him play than playing myself. I always ended up injured.
I'm the same, literally the same.
I stood in freezing cold, absolutely drenched. But I don't know. I just always had this preconceived thought that Open Age and Sunday League was quite rough, quite violent at times.
Yeah. Do you know what?
Go on,
to
sorry.
be honest with you, is it's actually changed. The dimensions have shifted now because, don't get me wrong, you can still get your games where it is rough and ready, and it is half the lads. But I think also the change in modern football, I find that the 18-year-olds that typically join the men's age team and right up until the 21s, I think they're coached at, sometimes probably I wouldn't say at a better level, but they're coached a lot more aware of the game now. So they actually do want to come and play football, which is a bit of a fresh air. But then we also, on the flip side, have, our 33, 34, 35-year-olds that are proper Sunday League. And if they ain't getting the ball, they're definitely getting the man instead. Sort of the proper Sunday League bruisers, as they're tough. So it is, there is a little shift in Sunday League, but I'm also very aware of the fact that we play against them as well. There's still a few of those sort of old school Sunday League.
Yeah.
They'll kick you up in the air before they'll get the ball.
I just couldn't bring myself to be like that, knowing that I've got work the next day.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous because I'm self-employed. So if I were to get quite a bad injury, I'm not getting paid.
Yeah. This is the argument we have sometimes, and we've had it a couple of times this season where we've had, some red card penalties against our players. And I turn around to their manager, because everyone's, got a manager now, even at Sunday League level. And I'm like, he's got work tomorrow. Like, he's a plumber. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
why are you going in with studs up against that? And we've had, even I was fortunate enough that, my company, I could still work because I could work from home. But even when I
Mm.
ruptured my Achilles, like, it was nothing to do with any injuries. Like, my wife was just like, why have you done that? Why are you playing Sunday League still?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this to yourself? Just give it up. And I was like, no, I play football.
I think when moving into the coaching side, at least you're still involved, at least you're still around the lads and stuff, and you're still part of it, aren't you? A big part of it.
Yeah, do you know what? I think it's like sort of living vicariously through it is not being able to play for such an extended period of time. And I thought my playing career was pretty much done when I'd done that injury. And don't get me wrong, I think I'm mental because I don't even get to play football. I'm standing in the absolute hailing rain on a Sunday morning and we're losing a game. And I'm like, why am I doing this? What am I doing?
Put me sat at home in my dressing gown.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I like getting to games earlier, making sure that even the nets are set out and doing the corner flags, making sure that we've got enough cones to do the warm up. I just sometimes I get up on a Sunday morning and go, why did I choose to be a manager? So there are very much weekends where, and then you got to like get everyone up for it, get intensity going. And sometimes you wake up like, on a Sunday morning, you've had a couple of glasses of, wine on a Saturday night and you go,
Yeah.
oh, I've got to get everyone up for this now. And I don't feel like it at all.
So, do you train as well? And do you train for a week?
Yeah. So we
In
train
plan?
on a Wednesday. So we actually, was something that was a little bit before Specsavers. So we partnership with a team called Brentwood Town FC. They're in the Isbian Premier League. They're currently sitting in the playoffs, actually.
Yeah, I was just looking tonight. Yeah, I was looking at that.
Yeah, so they are like an amazing setup side, and we just was trying to find places to train that wasn't a bobbly old horrible sort of very as you know, Sunday league pitches and even some Saturday league pitches, they're not the greatest.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that like my parents live about 5 minutes away from the ground. And I'd sort of been scouting out for better pitches and we trained on like this makeshift seven-a-side sort of a 1G pitch because it had like strips of sort of mismatched astro on it and it was still sand and whatnot. And yeah, we trained for Wednesday an hour. And I just think for a lot of the lads on Sunday League at the beginning, it became like just getting out of the house for an hour, making sure your core fitness is there, and also just getting to play a game before a Sunday because I've played in Sunday League teams where they don't train at all. When you set up Sunday morning and you go, right, I've got to get out for this game. And if you don't do your fitness throughout the week, you're expected to go run around on 90 minutes on a pitch Sunday. You're going to pull something immediately. So we do train once a week. It is quite intense stuff, but the players we have now have a lot of buy-in into sort of what we expect this year.
So you get quite a good turnout then to training.
Yeah, so to be honest with you, this is something that Specsavers sort of earmarked, and the reason why, even when we won last season, we had a minus, I think it was 81 goal difference. We got 4 points all season. We won one game and drew one game. We were still getting 17 to 18 come out for training each week.
Wow, good, yeah.
Yeah, and I turned around and I was like, at points, I was like, why are you still doing it? I was like, honestly, after time, I was like, I'm surprised. And that was one of the things that Specsavers just turned around and said, it was like, how are you still getting so many consistent numbers? And I was like, I don't really know. I was like, I guess the guys just enjoy very like social club. We want to make sure a lot of time with each other off the pitch, which we do. And we do a lot of fun stuff, sort of like days out with each other and whatnot. And my philosophy in terms of the way we bring in players, it was mates of mates. So it was like a mate of a player that brought another mate, and then that other mate would end up bringing a mate in. And then we got to like 23 players, which is hard to manage. You only take 16 on a Sunday of just a load of like sort of cliquey people that have ended up becoming one big group. So that's actually never really been an issue for us, which realistically on our form, I thought it would be probably last season. And I even found myself last season, even towards the end of it when we were losing games, I'd still have to like drop one or two players. And I'd be like, how am I getting 17, 18 on a Sunday still? So it's more testament to my lads, to be honest with you, the fact that they sort of carried on through that. And we've seen improvements a lot this year. So
do you have a lot of teams around you then, or is there?
No, do you know?
Practical.
So
So,
we play in the Brentwood Sunday League, and to be honest with you, I think this week is the first time we've actually played in Brentwood, for about 6 months.
right.
Its surrounding areas is more like, near us, Romford, Harold Hill, Harold Wood. They're all places that are Brentwood Sunday League. It's one of those that it's stayed the course in terms of surviving by taking teams just outside of their normal catchment, which it becomes difficult to manage at points, but I've always been a great fan of our league in that I'm completely understanding that if they need to survive, like we still got 4 divisions in our Sunday league level, which is more than some of the surrounding ones for us. And I
Yeah.
understood that if we have to travel 20 minutes for a game, 20 minutes isn't the worst case scenario, and it's not so bad. But it's weird because you're never really actually playing, apart from home games, you're never actually really playing in Brentwood, really. You're playing
Right.
it
Okay.
somewhere else. So,
And do you find that then a lot of teams around you have folded then? Is that due to costs
yeah.
of players?
Do you know what I have to say is in the sort of 2.5 years, like I've sort of been involved with the club for about 4 years, playing and then managing. And the amount of teams I've just seen folding just through constant not getting enough turnouts, not getting enough buy-in, and just sort of not really. It's so difficult because as soon as a team gets over a certain age, Warley could have, before I ended up managing it, could have quite comfortably folded the year that I ended up taking it over because it was just a bunch of lads that got to a point where they'd been playing football for 2 years. They weren't getting promotions. They weren't getting trophies. They weren't winning loads of stuff. They were just sort of mid to bottom of the table. And then, or you have the flip side, whereas other teams that were coming into the division, and I have to say, Brentford Sunday League is probably one of the most competitive Sunday leagues in terms of
Right.
like standard of it is so much better than what people think it is. Even at our division in Div 3, they come into the league and they get annihilated 7 or 8-0 first game. They then get annihilated 5 or 6-0 the week after, and then halfway through the season they go, I'm all right, thanks. I don't want this. I'll go back to another team. And we do have a lot of merger teams, which actually is how the league, keep it so well run that they just offer basically 2 clubs that are quite close to each other that are on the peripheries of folding to merge as a collective of the players that want to stay together.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of work to constantly. They're even at a point now where they've already got 4 new teams applied for the league next year as well.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's good.
yeah, and you go, Kyle, you must be doing a lot of work in the background. So I'd probably say there's a big shout out to my league sec. There's a lovely lady called Debbie who just works relentlessly to make sure the league
Brilliant.
keeps going. So, which is very different than some of the experiences I've played in other Sunday leagues and
Yeah.
the league just take your fees and then say, all right, we'll do an AGM in the halfway through the season and then we'll do one at the end of the season and never really do anything to change it.
It's good to hear that you've got a lot of respect for your league rep. There is a lot of people out there behind the scenes, isn't there, that put a lot of work into grassroots open age especially.
Well, the thing is so like I'm always quite in close contact with my league set, especially this year more because of the Specsavers stuff and consent for filming and all that sort of jazz that comes along with it and the sort of special stuff that we've had go on. And I didn't realise you've got like even the fixture set, just the pain. Like this year, especially, has been so bad for Grassroots. I think for about 8 weeks we didn't have a game because it kept getting called off because of rain. And you got a fixture secretary that's going, I've got to fit 8 weeks worth of fixtures somewhere
Yeah.
in something. And then you've got your general admin and your player registration. Like I think the league side of it, the committee sides, they have to do so much more work and they're not getting paid for it. They're not getting anything for it. They're just doing it because they've clearly got a love of football and they want it to continue. So I've probably before that, I could tell you I probably wasn't the greatest fan of the league sex. But when you become a manager, I think your dynamic shifts a little bit and they're a bit more understanding of it. So
Yeah. I'd love to have a league rep on, just to find out, everything that they have to do and things they have to put up with, managers at amount time, and because they do a lot better.
We had it this weekend where, and I mean, this is probably something that hopefully this podcast out a little bit later. we're one of those fortunate teams for respect as we have a video on all of our games. And what is a typical thing on a Sunday? Loads of people play ringers.
Mm.
We had it where we knew the team had played ringers. So I just sent her the video footage, and then she's got to go through all of this stuff to make sure that, and they were levels above the division as well. It wasn't it wasn't a ringer where it was like, all right, they fit into the side and you go along with it. They ended up winning the game 2-0, but I was like, do you know what? I was like, they were really blasé about the whole situation of it, and they were introing half of the team to the manager in the morning, and I was like, okay, all right, no worries, that's a bit weird.
Nice,
but
nice to meet you for first time.
Yeah, exactly that. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to put in this. And she was like, oh, you've made so much more work for me. I was like, I've got to charge him with this stuff. And then I've got to have them wait to respond and get 7 days to respond. And then I've got to go through any protocols that if it's more than one, no, we have to check with the FA about what the next steps are. And she was like, how many ringers? And I was like, do you want me just to say one because it makes your life easier? She was like, yes, please. So it's that they are a bit of the unsung heroes in terms of the fact that a lot of the stuff they do is just basically completely, all they do is get yelled at about why is this game cancelled? Why is this fixture? Why are we not playing at home on our home pitch where you've already played 10 home games this season because you've got a better home pitch than the away teams in the league? So, they have to do a lot of work involved, which I don't envy.
No, not at all. I won't do it. And just carrying on with leagues, how much would you say it costs in terms of registering your team and then anything else that you need to get insurances or things like that?
So, to be honest with you, I did not realise the cost involved before. Like, our basic league registration is 110 for a year, which it doesn't seem like a great amount, but, Sunday league. Then you've got to have your public liability insurance, which you can either go out and get yourself, then you have to have your employer, then you have to have, there was so much little random, like, niggly stuff that I think by the time we tied it up is just to sort of be in a division and in the league, you were already over like £200 to £300.
Right.
It was an immediate cost that you can't get away with. You wouldn't even be able to register your team without paying this. So it's not the greatest amount. Don't get me wrong. If you've got enough players to absorb it, but then you take on the fact that you've got to pay our pitch. We have changing rooms to our pitch. That's sort of, 14 to 1,500 quid a year. Then we have to pay for our training facilities as well. That's, a bit more expensive because it's 4G, step 3 sort of level grade stuff. And then before you know it, you're asking players to, you got your signing fees and stuff like that. So I think it depends on how big you want to do to Sunday League. If you want to do it where you just rock up to the cheapest pitch on a Sunday, then you can do it okay. But your registration fees are already 300 quid as it is. So I can always understand why people charge them sign-on fees because, they are pretty much vital to you even being able to register your team.
Yeah. And if you haven't even mentioned kit there either.
Yeah.
What do you do with kits? Do you get sponsorship? I know you've got this at the minute, but before, did you have like a local business?
So it's that typical old age Sunday league, isn't it? You find the most local pub to you and go, can you sponsor us, please? We're quite lucky that, for one of the local pubs that we were then it was sponsored, obviously the Specsavers stuff has taken precedent and they've given us all brand new home and away kit, training kits, all of the razzmatazz. Kitted us right out, shall we say. So all the lads are absolutely loving it. But then obviously Specsavers partnership ends next year. So then we're back in the same position where we're going, right, got to raise sponsorship again. And then, and I think players also sometimes don't understand you are on Premier League level. You can't have a different kit every single year. You can't have a home and away kit. You can't have training kits. You can't have training tops. You can't have training joggers. Unless you all want to pay for it yourself, it has to be funded in some way. So players don't really understand that side of it. So a lot of it is, like I said, go to your most local pub, find out and just say, we will have X amount of drinks in here throughout the season. And then if you can sponsor us enough to be able to just get the basic kits, then we're good with that. And most of the time, Brentwood, I have to say, it has a few pubs dotted around it. And most of the time, you'll always find one. So we had a pub sponsor us before Specsavers, and after that, we were already sort of off the back of obviously this makes a big impact of the sponsorship that we've been offered, being able to get a pub secured for next year's sponsorship. But
Brilliant.
even then, they're still that they have to see a return on investment. So if they're putting up kind of the basic price of, even half decent Macron, Nikes and stuff like that for 20 players, I think it still adds up to like 600-700 quid. So you've got to find 600-700 quid in people having a Coke, having a beer, having whatever in that, and before you in throughout the season. So it's not so bad if you do it right, but I can understand why a lot of teams have to really raise funds and get like towards that old thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, my mate's one of the players' dads owns a scaffolding company, and he'll sponsor us a couple of £100, and then all of a sudden you're raising 3 different sponsors throughout the season to get as much money as possible for a new kit. So
I've seen a lot of teams around here that they do like say it's 200 quid or 100 quid, 150 for like match balls or training footballs, and then you've got another business that'll sponsor the home kit, and then they've started doing player sponsorships as well.
Yeah, we've had that started, which I don't understand it, because who's realistically going to want to sponsor Dave the scaffolder who's 33 on a Sunday morning to play football? Like,
yeah, I did. Grassroots Unfiltered sponsored a player. I don't think he's played since I sponsored him.
Lovely. He just took your sponsorship money and went, right, see you later. He's been down the pub with that. That's what it is. But yeah, no, it's been in our league for probably about a season now, and I'm just like, honestly, if I tried to get player sponsorship for half my players, I just think no one would really be sort of interested. The match ball stuff, we have a very simple system, which is if you lose a ball, you pay to replace the ball. And most of our players now know that if they go kick a ball over in training or a game or whatnot, you're going to pay for the ball regardless, because it's not sustainable. The amount, I think Specsavers has been great. They've, obviously sponsored us along the balls this year, but the year before that, I think it went for about 40 balls in the season, because it's Sunday league. And and they go up there, they go here, there, anywhere, and everywhere.
They just disappeared, don't they?
What do you know?
We always end up getting no footballs.
Yeah, I mean, half the time, the thing is like, even for basic decent football, it's like, it's 15 quid now. So if you look at what you're spending on that, it's not cheap as well. Like, just the equipment of like cones. You're going to set out an okay training drill, cones. They're not cheap either. And then if you have anything like, anything a little bit more fancier, the price of like equipment in sport is just astronomical, because there are so many youth teams now that invest so heavily in like making sure they've got all the same equipment. Now, I think sometimes them companies take advantage of the amount of money they charge on them.
They know that we need them, don't they? So it's just like everything, the price goes up and we've got to swallow it and pay it.
Yeah, most of the time that normally comes from like just fundraising stuff to get it, but the sponsorship is just so sort of difficult to. I'll be honest with you, the effort it takes to arrange sponsorship is just so much more, and sometimes, unless it is your mate's player or your mate sponsoring them or whatnot, sometimes the ask of what they want is just so unrealistic to. As a Sunday league team, you're just not really going to get that much traction unless you are, some of the Sunday league teams that are, higher up levels. You're not going to get much traction. All of a sudden, they're not going to see a massive return on investment. When you sponsor a Sunday league, you might as well just go, all right, well, I'm never really going to see that money again. I'm just doing something nice to put a name on their kit. Like, no one's going to look at that kit on a Sunday morning and go, oh, I'm going to go to this random building company that sponsors these people and get a quote. How are they?
No, I completely agree. Just moving on to, I know we briefly touched about your pitch, and you've got quite a decent one, haven't you, at step 3? But what about like council pitches? How are they maintained around you? Because I know around here there's some teams that have only played a couple of games this year.
Yeah,
Um, it's
this
all
is
poorly maintained.
so this is one of the biggest dilemmas. So we train on a 4G beautiful pitch. We actually
Right.
play on a council owned pitch.
Right.
Um, so we train on an absolutely lovely carpet, and then on a Sunday morning, the ball's up to your knee. And I have to say, like, it's no sort of qualms against my appreciate the councils here. They're so poorly maintained now. So the changing rooms looks like something out of the 1890s. Like half the time, it doesn't have hot water. It's and it's normally just two wardens that have had to be there on a Sunday morning having to unlock the changing rooms, and it's Sunday morning for them as well.
Yeah.
I just think it's a massive issue in grassroots across it. You know, I don't think it's a individual to our council. I think it's such an issue in grassroots football that if you're not on a 3G, 4G pitch now, it's hard to sustain a league. And I think that's why the leagues are so clever about the fact that they only put like 12 teams in a division and split up into multiple divisions, because they pretty much allow for the fact that they're not going to get an amount of games in it, which
Yeah.
I don't think they should have to do. I think it should be that there has to be a level of maintenance. You know, we've got divots in our goal mouth because there's so much rain and where they've been played on, and the line marking sometimes isn't up to date because it hasn't been done in a couple of months. And I just think it's such an issue with grassroots football. If you're not playing on those academy level pitches, you're going to struggle every season without fail. Sometimes you have to play like before, not so much maybe this season, play double headers. We end up playing
Right.
we end up playing two 60-minute games.
In a day.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so we had it when I first joined. I was really surprised by it, actually. One of the first games I played was a double header, and it was two 60-minute games because they had got to the end of the season, and obviously you're not allowed to play football in June. Everything has to shut down by the FA law. You can't have any Redfin or anything like that. So they have to get it done. They just had no time to get the fixtures in. It was like we either cancel this league and just say all the results are null and void, or people do double headers. And
Wow.
yeah, it's just, if you win the first game, absolutely brilliant. You're pretty much guaranteed to win the second game. But if you lose that first game and then you've got to play another 60 minutes whilst having a break in between, then you're sitting there going, oh, for God's sake, I don't want to play another 60 minutes of this. So there is ways that they sort of innovate around it, but I just think you shouldn't have to do that. I think there should be so many more accessible options to pitches than what there is around in general. I think
Do you,
it's
do you think if the FA put a lot more money into grassroots and actually the grass pitches instead of trying to build all these 4G pitches, do you think that would be a better use of the money?
oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I've seen, so we have currently in our council, they're building 3 brand new 3D pitches with change rooms. And I think they put it out and it's public domain, so I can say it's going to cost renovating the Brentford Centre. It's going to cost 25 million. And you're like, just spend probably like 100 grand just redigging up the surface and just relaying it. And I think everyone's so focused on the fact that everyone now wants to go to 3G Astros, whatever they are, pitches, that in 5 years' time, I don't think there'll be a bobbly Sunday, the old school proper Sunday league pitch out there, because they'll have all been built on by Astros. And I just think sometimes the FA is great as, some of the stuff it does and the initiative in grassroots, and it does some really good stuff, is it fails on grassroots football at a lower level. Like, I think, unless you're in those academy levels, I think
Yeah.
it doesn't filter down to where it needs to be. It's very unsustainable to run a Sunday league football club without a lot of work going into it. And that's put on chairmen, managers, X, Y, and Z to
Yeah.
do that.
And if you're having to pay for these 4G pitches to play on every week and to train on, subs will have to go up because they're not cheap at all, are they?
No, I mean, luckily enough, because of the partnership we are with Brentford Town, and they're great, you know, ours do cost a little bit less, but they're still not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. Like, ours, when they all sign up, they're fully aware that the costs are involved, and we are a little bit different than your typical Sunday League team. We're probably, I always say it, one of the best set up Sunday League teams in the country, in terms of obviously backing off of Specsavers stuff as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, we managed to keep our subs to £6 on a Sunday because we play on a council pitch. If you go play on a 4G pitch like Brentford Town, you're going to be doubling them. And then who's going to want to pay 12 to 15 quid on a Sunday morning? You know, you can't do that on a Saturday. And
do you think that then the cost, all these costs involved, do you think that would put people off trying to start a new team?
yeah, so I think a lot of the teams that come through Sunday League are teams that have just carried on through youth level. I don't think I've seen a new Sunday League team start from afresh in our division alone from the whole time I've been there. I think it's always just people going up, the men's ages, youths going up. I don't think anyone, because why would you? It's so much work for very little reward unless you are getting promoted or winning a trophy each year. Because you don't get paid for it. It's Sunday League football, so you're not going to make a career out of it or earn a few extra quid. You're just playing because you love football and you want to not have to worry about spending 5 hours on a Saturday for a football game. You've got to turn up ridiculously early and stuff like that. So I think it's just people that just want to have a bit more of a chilled environment on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And just enjoy the playing football a bit more. So.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm not well travelled in going around and watching a load of different Sunday League teams. And I just go off kind of things that I've seen on social media, or because you always see the negatives, don't you, on social media? You don't see the positive sides. But yeah, I do think that creates this bad image for Sunday League. Everyone just thinks it's a lot of bloody big, 35, 40-year-olds just wanting to knock lumps out of each other.
Yeah.
Like you say, it's still just about people wanting to enjoy football, isn't it?
I think for me that I was speaking about this on my own podcast, is the negative connotations with Sunday League is crazy in terms of the fact that everything you see on social media is armed towards the typical, and the content, I've seen some content creators do great at it because they play on the Sunday League stereotypical stuff. And there's some great content creators that I love watching out there because I think it is old school grassroots Sunday football. Absolutely was that. I can tell you I've played Sunday League. You know, it is at best of times it can be a difficult place to play. I just think it's different now. I think the quality's gone up massively, from my experiences. I think it's not that old case that you have the one fastest player that's now a striker now and he just stand in the middle of being because he was the fastest one out of the team, or half the time he was the youngest one out of the team. But, it's very, very different. And Saturdays are so highly filtered in terms of the fact that there's a step for this and there's a step for that and there's a step for this and you can get to this and you can get to that. And it's all about striving for this stuff. That Sunday League, people see it, and I sort of choked about it with the person I'm speaking to. They see it as a bit of a retirement village for football. It's like, so, I'm done with my Saturday stuff now. I'll go to the retirement village of Sunday. We've played a couple of Saturday teams this year and they've been a lot closer than what they were expecting.
Right, okay.
And they were like,
you've done a good game.
Yeah, you aren't actually as bad as we thought you were. And you're like, yeah, no, we can play football. If anything, we have to deal with more conditions because we have to deal with a publicly pitch to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, that it kind of covered my my other question, because it was do some players expect like professional standards even though it's Sunday League? To get a few of the younger lads coming through and
so the younger lads, they're very different in terms of the fact that I don't mind it because they actually create a level of intensity in training and games that is quite good because they've been coached quite well to trainers they play sometimes. But we had a guy that was playing step football that come over to play with us on a Sunday. And obviously he was very, very good. And just, you could see the frustration in his like general thing of like, because people couldn't do what he could do, there was such a level of frustration with it. And you're like, well, no, that's because it's Sunday league. Like you're fine. I understand you can get frustrated with people, but sometimes people just want to go there. They want to have a laugh. They want to have, a social element of it. And there can be a professional standard to Sunday league. We are quite a professional outfit in terms of the way we act. But then we also, if we lose, we go, all right, well, let's go to the local pub and let's have a drink and, have a laugh and forget about it. Whereas that's sometimes just not built into people's sort of mechanism. They'll stew on a loss and go stew on it for the rest of the day. So it's difficult sometimes, because when I get a Saturday player saying they want to join me, I'm like, okay, so just so you're aware, this is Sunday league, right? The level you're playing at on Saturday is this. Sunday league can be this, but sometimes it can also be down here. So just be aware of those scenarios.
Brilliant. So for any young people now, say 17, 18, what would you say to them if they was thinking about getting involved in the Saturday or the Sunday leagues?
Do you know what? Honestly, I think for me, football is such a great outlet for, I think, one, mental health. Like, I think it just makes a big advocate of like being out with people, the social circles that we end up in terms of like some of the players that just mismatched that have ended up becoming friends. And even if you're not the most confident person, we had a guy that come in, he was 18, he was quiet. I don't think he said a word for a season. He's one of the now louder players on the pitch. He's the one, giving a bit to the opposition at points and stuff like that. And you go, like, I'm like, sometimes I'm like,
where's that come from?
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, well, take a step back, a bit too much, rein it back in. But I think for me one, for Sunday League, because I'm a big advocate of anyway, don't go in with the initial stigmatism of what Sunday League is. You're not going to get kicked up in the air as much as you think you are going to. You might once a week, but you might get that on a Saturday as well if you face a really good side. Saturdays are great for social element as well, because a lot of clubs say you have to stay after the game to have a drink as a non-negotiable and stuff like that. Football is like, I can tell you, my love is football, and that's, apart from my wife, and I'd probably say it's just about there realistically. Football is like my absolute love, and I just think it's such a great outlet, getting out, and even, my nieces have started taking up playing football, and like, because there's so many more girls teams around near us and whatnot. And you can just tell like how happy they are on the pitch, how much of an outlet it is. I always say to players, like, for 90 minutes, you can just forget about whatever's going on. Literally, for 90 minutes, all you've got to do is walk on that football pitch, forget about absolutely everything, and then you're done. You can go and play football if you want. I think I'd always say 17, 18-year-olds especially. So don't be afraid to get into men's football earlier, because I think the introduction to men's football, I think that 17 to 18-year-olds do very much fear going, oh, well, if I'm in an open age team, I'm going to be the weakest here and I'm not going to be the strongest. Half the time, they'll probably have double the pace of what the oppositions are. So if you coach them right, they'll be able to use the pace to the advantage. And you'll find that you'll become probably a lot more adept as a player dealing with, more physical sides on a Saturday or a Sunday to actually become a better player. And people, they're scared of the step up sometimes. And I think that under 21s and under 23s are great teams, but you're only ever playing people that are of the same age. And it used to be, you probably know it as well as I do, even on Saturday, like the biggest lad in your football team was the one that was either going to play centre back or he's going to play up top, because he was the one that was going to head to the ball or something like that. Whereas nowadays, even the bigger lads, sometimes they've got decent feet on them, and they're half decent nowadays.
They're playing centre mud round.
Yeah. So it's so good for mental health. I'm such an advocate to like get out on a Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and enjoy playing as a player, as a manager sometimes. It's not that fun. But as a player, you don't have to worry about anything for 90 minutes. And let's be honest, there's no better feeling than scoring a goal or scoring an absolute worldie or beating a team you're not expecting to beat or, getting into a cup final or something along those lines. There's no better than it.
Brilliant. I also think like if they have a couple of good games, that confidence will shoot up, and then they're riding that crest out there for the rest of the season. And who knows, 17, 18, anything could still happen, couldn't it? They could end up playing for a semi-pro team,
The
else,
thing is, and
something
I
like that.
always say to my players is like, especially on Saturdays as well, like when I've played Saturdays and I've seen some players that could play step football in those teams. And I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like I think everyone has, when you're a kid, when you grow up, what do you want to be? I want to be a professional footballer and earn loads of money and and have nice cars and have a big house and stuff like that. I think once you get past a certain point, if you have a realistic expectation of even wanting to get into like step 6, step 5 football and playing football in a serious manner like they do at those steps now, if you want to play football seriously, you can still do it. It doesn't have to be in the Premier League. It doesn't have to be at this ridiculous level. It could be at step 7, for instance, but there's still a good standard at step 7s and step 8s and stuff like that. And, you can still, for some people, I know, even step 5, step 6, I mean, it's getting a bit out of hand, but the people are getting paid fair sums of money to play those nowadays. So it's not something that people should turn their nose up in terms of 17, 18, you can get a lot further along in your development, I think.
I used to go watch Dulwich Hamlet.
Yes.
Went to watch them a few times, and I was shocked at the standard. I thought they were really good.
Yeah.
And I bet they're in a fair whack as well. I don't know.
Yeah, they're I think it's that age-old non-league stuff, isn't it? It's not so much as, probably the 90s of non-league where it was like, how long can you kick a ball from one end of the pitch to the other end of the pitch and see what happens, and then someone gets a big knock on and whatnot, stuff like that. It's not like that anymore. Even like, the sort of the step 3, step 4 sides, they play really good football now. And you go, I didn't expect this to be so good.
I do want to move on to your brilliant experiences that you're having with Specsavers and some former pros. Can you just tell us all about this Specsavers Best Worst Team, please?
Yes. Yeah, so I applied for it because, like I said, the season before was, it was a bit of a heavy one. Like I said, minus 81 goal difference. I think we had 18 losses. I've got 4 points all season, and it was very demoralising season, shall we say, at the best of times.
I can imagine,
for it. Yeah, I applied for it, and I was like, you know what, I probably won't hear anything. It's like that old thing of like texting into a radio show, isn't it? To win £500,000. Like, you don't think you're ever going to hear from it, sort of thing. And we done this very like Sunday League like player cards, very like banter related, like Sunday League player cards. It was very and we sent them all over to them, and sort of the whole process. I'd watched the previous ones on YouTube just because I'd stumbled across them, and I was like, oh, this is quite funny to watch, actually, like good content. Flying for it, I didn't think I heard anything back from it. And then I got an email back about 2-3 weeks later saying, can we interview you? Had multiple interviews, made sure that we were the right team, made sure they're the right fit for them, sort of, guidelines. And the pros of it, I'll be honest with you, is like absolutely ridiculous. Like it's experiences we've had. We've been lucky enough that we've got Mike Richards as an assistant manager for the season, which not many, Sunday League teams say they can have. We had James Milner come and run a training session for us, which is ridiculous. Did
he beast you all?
Yeah, he made us do a bleep test. Luckily enough, I'm on the manager, so I just stood there and went, "Yeah, run, yeah, go on, yes, look, run. I'll have a chat with James over here whilst you're doing it." And just asked him. I'm a Liverpool fan as well, so I was just asking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was asking loads of questions about the Barcelona game, to be honest with you, the 4-0 whilst they're all running. And yeah, and we went to like a professional celebrity chef about like dietary, what's good to eat, and and we've had loads of experiences. We played Winton, which is a very well-known content creator and ginger team. We played them, went up to Manchester on a coach on Tuesday. All by Specsavers. And just like the day-to-day stuff of like when they come over and film is like the experiences of our players. Like, I don't know how I'm going to get them up for next season, to be honest with you, because
Are you caked and then
yeah, it's going to be so difficult because the experiences we've had in Specsavers is like absolutely mind-boggling at some of them, and you're just sat there and you're like, this is a bit surreal, and some of the stuff that we've just had involved is absolutely crazy, to be honest with you.
do they come and film you every week then?
No, so they do. So they film us like a fair amount, I have to say. So they do us a lot. But it's a 12 episode documentary. So it's split into like 9-minute episodes to make them more watchable, because I feel like everyone in now in YouTube format, they're short, sweet, in your face. So they do come over to us a fair bit, and then they'll take the best bits out of it naturally to form the best sort of content for the season. Well, they've also provided us in VO, and it has like even little stuff like has player analytics on it. It has stats on it as well. And like half the time I don't really know what to do with them, because I'm like, but even for my players, like having those tools, it has like a little function called player moments, where someone could log on to it and it shows them a breakdown of all of their in game moments of what's going on with it. And like for a player that's trying to improve constantly, we have a lot of lads like that. To see their whole game going on with it, they're like, it's crazy. And they also take a lot of snippets off of the VO as well, and it all gets uploaded to a big drive to put in the best content possible. So they're down probably more than what people think they are. I'd probably say they probably think they're only down twice a year. They make it into 12 episodes, and then it's done sort of thing. They're a lot more than what they think.
That sounds great. That and then I've just got a personal question.
Yeah,
how was it coaching and having Michael Richards there with you as your assistant?
First of all, absolutely surreal. Sort of standing next. I'd have to pinch myself a couple of times, sort of standing next to him. We're like, what? Do you know what? To be honest with you, I think everyone assumes that his energy isn't there, 100 times out of 100. I can absolutely tell you it is literally 100 times out of 100. Like the energy and sort of, for lack of a better word, vibes that he puts into a dressing room is absolutely ridiculous. He's so nice as well. Like he's also obviously playing at a Premier League level. He's won a Premier League and, multiple honours. He naturally knows how to play the game of football. And I have to say, the best thing he does with me is player buy-in is so key at our level. And I say it to my players all the time, I said it, if you don't want to take advice from a person who's won the Premier League, then you're never going to take advice.
No,
it's completely up to you what you do with what he's saying to you. And yeah, just energy is just off the scale at all points. And even just like when we're just sitting there, like he's so sort of great with his time. Like even when he comes down and films with us, he spends a bit of time with the lads afterwards, talking to them about what things they could do better. And even just in tweak games, like just having him standing next to me, he's like, oh, that person's pushing on too much, or that person's diving in, or why don't you try going to a 3 at the back? Why don't you try going to a 4? Like his tactical knowledge of the game is so much more like than what people think it is, because everyone thinks this big, loud, sort of in-your-face character. Once again, if you played at those levels, you're going to know a little bit about football. And he's been a pundit for many years as well now, so he watches a lot of football. And yeah, we've had some great experiences, but I'd probably say him coming over is probably up there in terms of, especially even from our lads as well. They've all said like the impact he's made coming over to us has been a lot bigger than what we thought it would be, to be honest with you. because in previous years they'd used Harry Redknapp in like 2 seasons. So we were like, yeah, we'll just assume it's Harry Redknapp and stuff like that. And the episode where he comes round, I was like absolutely bamboozled by it. I was like,
oh, did you not know?
no, everything is surprises. Everything. So we didn't.
Oh,
So when we played Winton, we didn't know. So we knew we was going up to Manchester. We had no clue why we was going up to Manchester. We were just told,
right.
yeah, coach, and your players will find out. Obviously, I know snippets of stuff because I have to, get people to buy into it. I didn't know anything about the Michael Richards stuff. Didn't know anything about the Angry June stuff. Didn't know anything about James Milner stuff at all.
Wow.
So
That's that.
they do it. And the thing is they've always said, we want your reactions as absolutely authentic as physically possible. Like, we don't want you to act surprised at anything unless you act surprised at anything. And it was all very much like some of the, walking in, like I said, to James Milner, who I think the week after that, he broke the Premier League record appearance. And you just sat there next to him having a chat with him about what he does on Saturday to prepare for a game, or even like how good Messi was. Like, just having those conversations with someone, you're like, this is very weird.
I couldn't imagine that experience. I'd be a bumbling mess, mate.
Do you know what? To be honest with you, after a while, honestly, the first couple of times on camera, I was horrendous. I was so bad. I was so bumbling, and they don't cut anything out. Like, they will just use pretty much everything. And on the first couple of episodes, you could see me like start. And then after it, they're very good at not being intrusive. So they're very good at only stepping in when they want to step in to talk about something. And it's literally like, how's the game going? And it's like 30 seconds, so it's not taking too much off of your game. And after about the third sort of shoot as it was, I was like, I can actually speak on camera now. It's not too bad. And then you sort of get used to it because they're not in your face. And I think my players, when it all come about, I think one of the big reservations they had was like a camera standing right there looking at them. It's like, nah, they don't. They're very background stuff.
Oh, that's great. That sounds like an absolutely fantastic experience.
Oh yeah. It's like I said.
So where can people watch it? What's it called?
So it's literally on YouTube. It's called Specsavers Best Worst Team. There are currently 7 episodes out. If you want to do a bit of a binge watch, or just a few of it. There is a new episode coming out on Tuesday, which is an extended edition of the game against Winton. I've done a little teaser in the last episode where you get to find out the result, and it's a lot of football in it, and it's I'm fortunate enough to have watched the episodes, and I can tell you it is an absolute cracker. It's not
I'll be watching that.
Yeah, it is definitely worth a watch. But it's not even that. It's even the little stuff they do, like with the YouTube thing. They're very good at content, is what I would say. They know how to make an episode entertaining.
Brilliant. I've really enjoyed that, Luke. Really enjoyed that. Thank you for your time.
That's been brilliant.
I'm definitely going to have to come down to Brentwood and see you all training, see you in a game or something.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my biggest challenge now is what do I do next season, to be honest with you. I think I might have to ask Specsavers if they could just stay another year.
Yeah, extend the contract.
Yeah, can you just do it for another year, please? Can we have some more fun stuff?
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, mate. Really appreciate you giving up your time.
Yeah, lovely stuff, mate. Really enjoyed it. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
And that was Luke talking to us about his experiences at Open Age and his time managing at Warley FC. Hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on all our socials. Until next time, goodbye.